Talia. Just give me a sign when we are starting the video before you broadcast so I can have it ready. And interpreters,
hello,
please.
hello everybody. Hello, Natalia. Good to see you.
Oh, dear Amina. Good to see you also.
How are you? Long time with this COVID-19.
Interpreters, please have your
Aya, how
cameras
are you,
off.
Aya?
Good morning, Commissioner.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Where are you? You are saying good morning. Where are you?
I'm in New York. I think I started. Yes.
Aya.
Good day.
You are not in Addis.
Where
are
you? My night is my day. My day is my night.
Very true.
Okay, I guess we are going live in 1 minute. Just to confirm, please, interpreters, have your cameras off, your mics are ready. If you're not speaking and you're a coordinator, please keep your mic and camera off all the time, and thank you. Amit, over to you.
أنا اسمي رمضان عبد الوهاب، السن 17 سنة. من خلال الندوات اللي حضرتها ماما عرفت إن مفيش حاجة اسمها ختان بنات، لأنه مضر للصحة والبنات يعني.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols are duly observed. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this high-level event to accelerate investment and action to end female genital mutilation. Before I start, I want all of you to be able to use the interpretation provided. So just click on the bottom of your screen and choose your preferred language. We have Arabic and French. My name is Aya Shebi. I'm the African Union Youth Envoy, and I'm honored to be your host today. honorable ministers, UNFPA-ED, AU Commissioner of Social Affairs, different representatives from the UN, from the AU, from the European Union, ambassadors, permanent representatives, civil society. I'm so excited to see so many of you joining us on Zoom, developing partners, young people. Thank you to all of you for your time and for being with us today. Please also note that we are live on YouTube, so share the link with your friends and networks and be part of the conversation using the hashtag #ActToEndFGM2. Number 2, #ActToEndFGM. Today, we gather in commemoration of the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. And this year's theme is No Time for Global Inaction. Unite, Fund, and Act to End FGM. And that's why our agenda will have a session on how we can unite, a session on how we can act, and a session on how we can fund. And we know that more than 200 million girls have been subjected to FGM, and this number is projected to increase, unfortunately, as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. So we want to really use today's engagement to shed light on your commitment as leaders, as member states, as civil society, as intergovernmental institutions, whatever space of influence you have, you also can mobilize support for further investment to end this practice. So we're really excited to hear from our speakers on what has been done, what should we do more to accelerate action, and we will have the next hour and a half to dig into these questions. But let me start with something really exciting, and what better way to start such an event, a performance from Justina Kehinde. Justina, are you with us on camera?
I am.
Amazing. Justina, I saw your bio, but I'm going to read your Twitter description, which says, creative hustler navigating hybridity in the diaspora. That says a lot about the poet we're about to hear. So Justina, take the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for this opportunity to share this poem with you. Female genital mutilation, like many harmful traditional practices, is often held on to because it's a tradition, it's custom, it's part of our culture and identity. And this poem seeks to look at the idea that not everything we inherit is something that we need to pass on, and that actually there are some things that we can let go of. So I hope you enjoy this offering today. Not everything we inherit is a gift to be passed on. Not everything we inherit is a gift to be passed on, she said, as she slipped the soles of her feet from tired bones, bound them in blue ribbon, and offered them as something old, something owed. These feet, calloused and creased, were borrowed from her father's family tree. See, she had been carrying her ancestors before she could even articulate her own identity. This body, this parcel of past generations that creaked under the weight of traditions and customs, began its final journey with a question: what are we willing to leave? She had already left behind her mouth, complete with instructions explaining how it should laugh where it once wept, and sing where it once screamed, yet also scream and speak and breathe if we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. Then she loved the way her mouth smiled wider since it had been inherited by her niece. She left the dance in her right hip to a nephew, unclasped her spine, that column of courage that had neither wavered nor withered. She knew they would need her backbone in 2 generations' time. And eyes that had seen so much, tilted heavenward towards that never-ending sky, knowing that there were some things she would not leave behind. She took the silence with her, that uninvited guest, took the parts of her culture that cut bodies until they ended up being less. She took the rites of passage that violated her rights, denounced the idea that goodness is found in clothes that are loose and bodies that are tight. She took the culture of blame that had exonerated generations of men from the violence they wreaked on the bodies, the minds, and the souls of everyone less powerful than them. She took the low expectations too narrow to give birth to something as wild and wonderful as a full and autonomous human. She took all her misery, gathered every yes when she wanted to say no that slipped out of her body, unearthed every twisted conception of love that had dug itself into the soil of her soul, for she had eaten from that tree of knowledge and knew that if she left these blighted seeds behind, they would only fester and grow. Not everything we inherit is a gift to be passed on, she said, clasping the scars in her right hand and the pain in her left. Not everything we inherit is a gift to be passed on. If the past is filled with death and destruction, in the end, the things that survive are the things we leave behind. It's true what they say. Only death presides when we fail to protect the dignity of life. Not everything we inherit is a gift to be passed on. We gain more than we lose when we choose to move on. Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. Not everything we inherit is a gift to be passed on. We gain more than we lose when we choose to move on. Thank you for that moving, powerful performance, Justina. And by the way, this piece is written special for this event. So thank you so much for sharing your talent and powerful message with us. Welcome, UNICEF ED, welcome, Minister Marshall, welcome, Ambassador Idris, everyone I see on the screen and I don't see. Welcome to 200 people joining us on Zoom and more on YouTube. Now I would like to move on to another powerful statement that we will hear from Head of State. Nous avons maintenant l'honneur d'écouter l'allocution du président du Burkina Faso, son Excellence Roch Marc Christian Kaboré, qui est le champion de l'Union africaine sur l'élimination des mutilations génitales féminines.
Madame la directrice exécutive, distinguées personnalités, mesdames et messieurs, chers panélistes, je voudrais tout d'abord féliciter la directrice exécutive de l'UNFPA, Dr Natania Kanem, et l'ensemble des organisateurs de ce panel de haut niveau, événement mondial visant à accélérer la mobilisation des ressources financières et l'action en faveur de l'élimination des mutilations génitales féminines en Afrique et dans le monde. J'adresse également mes vives félicitations aux panélistes de haut rang pour leur engagement et leur disponibilité dans le combat pour la promotion de l'élimination de cette pratique pénible pour les femmes et les jeunes filles. Mesdames et messieurs, chers participantes et participants, depuis plusieurs décennies, nos États respectifs et la communauté internationale déploient des efforts louables pour lutter contre les mutilations génitales féminines qui portent atteinte aux droits fondamentaux de millions de femmes et de jeunes filles à travers le monde. Ces efforts nous ont permis d'engranger des acquis considérables dans la lutte contre ce phénomène. À titre illustratif et sans être exhaustif, nous pouvons noter avec satisfaction la tendance à la hausse des déclarations publiques d'abandon de la pratique des MGF par un nombre croissant de communautés. Le rôle de plus en plus actif des chefs traditionnels et religieux dans la lutte contre les attitudes négatives et les normes sociales qui perpétuent la pratique des MGF. L'adoption d'instruments juridiques interdisant ou criminalisant les MGF dans plus de 20 pays du continent. La tendance à la baisse de la pratique des MGF dans plusieurs pays du continent. Malgré ces avancées encourageantes, il est important de souligner que plus de 200 millions de femmes et de jeunes filles ont malheureusement déjà subi des mutilations génitales. Et plus de 50 millions de filles de moins de 15 ans risquent d'être soumises à cette pratique préjudiciable et irréversible d'ici 2030 si nous n'agissons pas fortement aujourd'hui. Aussi, le contexte actuel marqué par la pandémie de la COVID-19 expose-t-il davantage les filles et les femmes au risque de la pratique des mutilations génitales, surtout si la tendance actuelle de la stagnation ou de la diminution des engagements financiers en faveur de la lutte se maintient. Outre la pandémie de la COVID-19, le monde est confronté à d'autres défis, tels que les crises sécuritaires, humanitaires et autres catastrophes naturelles. Ces défis obligent bien souvent les gouvernements et organisations internationales à réduire sensiblement les financements destinés à la lutte pour l'élimination des mutilations génitales féminines et à reléguer au second plan les programmes y afférents. C'est pourquoi il est plus que nécessaire que nous puissions à tous les niveaux agir avec détermination en accélérant la mobilisation des ressources financières pour mettre fin aux mutilations génitales féminines afin d'atteindre l'objectif de la tolérance zéro d'ici à 2030. Distinguées personnalités, mesdames et messieurs, le thème de cette 18e journée internationale Tolérance zéro, intitulé, je cite, « Le temps de l'inaction mondiale est révolu. Unissons-nous, finançons et agissons pour mettre fin aux mutilations génitales féminines. » Fin de citation. Qui constitue le socle des échanges de ce panel est très pertinent. En effet, il nous interpelle en tant que décideurs sur nos responsabilités dans cette lutte et sur les diverses stratégies et moyens à même d'accélérer le financement des actions et activités à mener contre les MGF. Je salue du reste à leur juste valeur les nombreuses initiatives fortes déjà engagées pour mieux adresser cette problématique, notamment la campagne Salima pour accélérer la promotion de l'élimination des mutilations génitales féminines, lancée en février 2019 à Addis Abeba. La campagne de l'Union africaine pour mettre fin au mariage des enfants lancée en 2015. La campagne pour la réduction accélérée de la mortalité maternelle en Afrique, lancée en 2009 à Addis Abeba. La résolution 4416, adoptée par le Conseil des droits de l'homme le 17 juillet 2020 à l'initiative du groupe africain sous le leadership de Burkina Faso. Je demeure convaincu que la mise en œuvre réussie de ces différentes initiatives nous permettra sans doute d'engager une avancée notable dans l'atteinte de notre objectif. Cependant, il nous faut encore redoubler de vigilance et d'efforts pour que les crises sécuritaires, humanitaires et sanitaires ne nous détournent pas de la problématique de la protection des droits fondamentaux des femmes et des filles victimes ou exposées dans ce contexte particulier. C'est l'occasion pour moi de lancer un appel à l'ensemble des acteurs, États, partenaires techniques et financiers, à s'engager à mobiliser les ressources financières suffisantes à la prévention et à l'élimination des MGF. Distinguées personnalités, mesdames et messieurs, permettez-moi de traduire ma reconnaissance à tous les partenaires techniques et financiers, et particulièrement à l'UNFPA et à l'UNICEF, à travers leurs programmes conjoints pour l'accélération de l'abandon de la pratique des MGF et leur importante contribution dans la lutte pour la promotion de l'élimination des MGF en Afrique. Tout en renouvelant mon engagement pour l'atteinte de notre objectif commun. D'ici à 2030, je souhaite plein succès à nos travaux. Je vous remercie.
Notre champion, merci pour votre appel à l'ensemble des acteurs, États, dirigeants, partenaires techniques et financiers à s'engager dans la mobilisation des ressources financières suffisantes et de les affecter à la prévention et à l'élimination des MGF. Merci, Excellence, pour votre leadership. Nous avons besoin de votre volonté politique et nous avons besoin que d'autres dirigeants africains suivent aussi votre exemple. I'm so excited for the next part of the program. Please do continue using the interpretation available in French and Arabic on your screen. Now it's my absolute pleasure to welcome keynote statements from 4 remarkable women leaders I personally admire, and they're all my mentors. Thank you for being gender advocates and youth champions, and for trusting and supporting young people and fighting for girls' rights. They have, all the excitement to join us, and they need no introduction. UN Deputy Secretary General, UNFPA Executive Director, UNICEF Executive Director, and the African Union Commissioner for Social Affairs. So I'm going to start first with Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, the United Nations Deputy Secretary General.
The ripple effects of COVID-19 have created a shadow pandemic of violence against women and girls, including harmful practices such as female genital mutilation. Almost 10 months of school closures have increased the secrecy of the practice of FGM as protective mechanisms for women and girls broke down. As an example, more cases were reported in Sudan, and more importantly in Kenya. An FGM analysis reported a 121% increase in 9 counties in 2020 compared to 2019. Recent estimates suggest that the impact of the pandemic could result in 2 million additional cases of female genital mutilation in 2030. This is in addition to the 68 million women and girls the United Nations has already projected would be at risk. Through the Spotlight Initiative, the UNFPA-UNICEF joint program, the United Nations is leading efforts to eliminate FGM. We are working with governments, policymakers, faith leaders, women's groups, youth networks, and many others. Together, we are doing everything we can to turn the tide. In this decade of action to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we call on the global community to stand up for the human rights of girls. Reaching zero female genital mutilation by 2030 is possible, but we must expand partnerships. We must mobilize resources, and we must work more systematically to support gender equality and transformative social change. Together, we can give girls the ability to control their own destiny and contribute to a more just, healthy, and sustainable world.
Thank you, DSG, for your call to expand partnership and mobilize resources and to stand up for human rights of girls, the human rights of the girl. Now I would like to welcome the leader who has taken all of us in November 2019 to the Nairobi Summit. The report came out last year and called for accelerating the promise. And we've seen since ICPD Sudan recent ban on FGM, we've seen Kenya Nairobi commitment to end practice by 2022, and other important steps forward. So Dr. Natalia Kanem, the UNFPA Executive Director, you have the floor.
Thank you, dear Aya. Thank you for your leadership, and thanks to our always inspiring Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed for her powerful message. Excellencies, dear friends, I salute all of the distinguished partners and participants joining us today. Thank you for investing your time and your efforts towards action. Action is what we need to end female genital mutilation before 2030, and young people leading the way have my special gratitude. I'll begin by asking you a very important question. It's about bodily autonomy. Whose body is it? Who should decide what happens to someone's body? Does a girl own her body? Does she govern her physical being? Is it her right to say yes or to say no? A girl like Fatuma, who took a stand when she was only 14 and said, "We are working day and night to stop female genital mutilation." Speaking as the leader that she is, now her village has abandoned the practice. She comes from the Horn of Africa, although we know many such girls of courage from elsewhere in Africa and in places like Indonesia and Central America. They are saying no to a practice that damages them. They're changing mindsets, so everyone will know that we can change cultural attitudes to stop FGM. We know from Fatima and from so many other community leaders that ending female genital mutilation requires tireless work. And more grandmothers, men, boys, traditional and religious leaders, and presidents are speaking out. Leadership. We have to address this issue with a unity of purpose and with a resolute optimism that we can and will reach zero. This is why I love Justina's poem. Because 0 cases of FGM is where we want to land by the year 2030, in keeping with the Sustainable Development Goals, and with 4 million women and girls at risk every year. And noting that with COVID-19 keeping girls at home and out of school, we now have an even steeper hill to climb. Because of the pandemic, UNFPA has projected that progress could slow by 1/3 before 2030, because COVID is disrupting girls' education and curtailing key interventions. And I am worried that this could mean an additional 2 million cases over the next decade. We can't allow this. Right now, today, I ask you to renew your commitment so we all redouble our efforts with Sustainable Development Goal number 5.3 and the Nairobi commitments as our guiding lights. Let us unite, fund, and act to end FGM once and for all. From Asia to Africa to the Americas, Europe, working with governments, grassroots organizations, very important. Our strength is greater when we act as one. Therefore, unity. We're mightier when we invest in gender equality, in education, and in programs to secure that bright future for Fatima and every girl. So funding. And now is indeed the time to translate political commitments into action and to challenge the gendered social norms that have dire implications for the health and well-being of women and girls. Not just words, but deeds. We want to see action. Together with UNICEF and with all of our dedicated partners like you, this year, we at UNFPA will definitely accelerate our efforts towards a world of no more FGM for girls. It's a future that we can achieve if we break the centuries of silence, of shame, and transform the pain of FGM into action, into investment and global solidarity. Full gender equality for every woman and girls. It starts with dominion over her own body. So let us unite, fund, and act today and make FGM and bring an end to FGM tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khanum, for sharing the stories of girls of courage. And 0 is what we aim for. We're not reducing, we're not addressing, but we're eliminating FGM. It's been really a pleasure collaborating with you the past 2 years in my capacity as Youth Envoy. And the Nairobi Summit set a clear direction. The march continues, as you always say.
March continues. Thanks, Aya.
Now, I want to welcome a statement from the one and only UNICEF Executive Director, Madame Henrietta Fore.
Thank you very much, Aya. And the march does go on. And Aya, I want to thank you and Justine. You have powerful voices and you're passionate, and it is just great to see you there. So thank you very much, Aya, to you and Justine. So excellencies, commissioners, ministers, representatives, donors, activists, and UN agencies, and most importantly, FGM survivors. I joined Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed and my dear partner, Executive Director Natalia Kanan, and Dr. Amira El Fadil. On behalf of everyone at UNICEF, thank you all for lending your voices, your support, your perspectives as we tackle what remains a huge barrier to true gender equality, female genital mutilation. This practice is not only dangerous, it undermines the rights of girls and women in a horrific way. We must work together as one to reach our goal of eliminating FGM by 2030. Our progress in recent years should inspire us, but we must also recognize that the impact of COVID-19 on our progress. From the very start, girls and women have been disproportionately affected by the pandemic's social and economic fallout. School closures, lockdowns, containment measures, reductions in health and social services, food and nutrition shortages, economic woes. Girls around the world have been hit hard. But for girls living in countries where FGM is still practiced, the challenges are even steeper. Rising household poverty is forcing many girls to undergo FGM as a precursor to marriage. Our teams are reporting anecdotal evidence that the number of girls undergoing the practice since COVID-19 began is rising. While the full impact remains unknown, the trend is unacceptable. Girls cannot afford a rollback in global progress. This is not only a matter of achieving the SDGs, it is a matter of basic rights. So even though the pandemic and our commitment are together, we must not wane. As we continue pushing forward on the decade of action, we need transformational solutions. Solutions like the Generation Equality Forum to assess our progress on gender equality to date and begin shaping new approaches. UNICEF is proud to be a part of this important initiative. Most of all, we need to unite, as Natalia said, to fund and act. We must unite to build a global movement that expands partnerships locally, regionally, and globally. We must build our response across sectors, health and protection, local and global, public and private alike, to design, deliver, and scale up solutions that work. We must fund these responses and mobilize public and private resources and investments to support our FGM programming, from prevention, protection, and care to health services and counseling for survivors. This includes the UNFPA-UNICEF joint program on eliminating FGM. COVID-19 has reminded us once again that this sector is critically underfunded, and we need to turn this around. And finally, as Natalia just said, we must act. For UNICEF, this means empowering girls by ensuring educational opportunities and their return to reopened schools. It means providing better access to essential services such as childcare, social welfare, and justice. It means helping families make ends meet. It means working with governments to develop policies and legislation to protect girls' rights. And it means working with communities to change the social and gender norms that perpetuate harmful practices against girls, including FGM. Every girl deserves to grow up safe and free from violence. Every girl has the right to decide what happens to her body. Every girl has the right to decide what happens to her future, including by accessing education, safety, protection, health throughout her childhood and adolescence. UNICEF looks forward to working with all of you to meet these goals. Let's accelerate our work to eliminate FGM, and let's shape a better, fairer, safer, and more equal world that every girl deserves. Thank you, Aya. Back over to you.
Thank you so much, Madame Fori, for your powerful words and for highlighting COVID-19 impact on girls. And my favorite line is, it's not a matter of achieving SDGs, it's a matter of basic rights. Thank you for that powerful message. Without further ado, I want to welcome our commissioner, the African Union Commissioner for Social Affairs, Her Excellency Amira Al-Fadel, who has done exemplary work during her mandate the past 4 years at the AU, especially as a pioneer of the Salima initiative, leaving a legacy of bringing all stakeholders together to fight to end this practice in Africa. Commissioner, you have the floor.
Thank you, Aya. Dear sisters, Natalia and Henrietta, all women leaders, young leaders, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all the participants in this high-level event, and our AU Youth Envoy Aya Shabi, our also young ambassadors, victorious ambassadors for Salima. I greet you all from the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa. Excellencies, I will say good morning, good afternoon, because we are in different time zones, and I will say Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much to UNFPA and to UNICEF for extending this warm invitation to be part, for me, to be part of the 2021 International Day on Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. This represents one of the last engagements that I will take as an AU Commissioner for Social Affairs. The AU Summit starts tomorrow, and the elections for a new commission will be tomorrow. I will take, as a Commissioner for Social Affairs, this is my last, one of my last events also. I take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt gratitude for the support and partnership that you have extended to my mandate. I thank you very much, UNICEF. Thank you very much, UNFPA. We have been doing a lot together, not only on female genital mutilation, but on different areas, on health, on social development. And this is a personal thank you. Excellencies, the global community's resilience relies on keeping channels of collaboration open, particularly where it concerns our people and our communities that are most vulnerable and at risk of being left behind. As the incoming Commissioner for Social Affairs, the one who will come after me, assumes office, I hope I will be able to give him a full briefing on what we did and what we are doing. And I wish from all of you partners that you will give him or her your unwavering support as we accelerate our efforts to eliminate female genital mutilation in Africa. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the International Day on Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation is an important platform for the world, for member states to redouble and accelerate efforts to eliminate this harmful practice. Whilst we assess progress, we are confronted by the coronavirus pandemic, which has reversed our efforts to protect the more than 50 million girls and women at risk of being subjected to this form of gender-based violence in Africa. Our countries are struggling, especially those who are in this fight with stressed and weak health systems, inadequate resources to deploy frontline health workers, and to equip them with protective equipment that enables them to provide life-saving services. So for us, COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns, no schools, no traveling, families losing their incomes, it made the situation more risky and more vulnerable for our girls in Africa. Excellencies, we are doing our best at the African Union Commission to fight COVID-19. Our leading institution is Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Africa CDC is implementing with our member states the anti-COVID-19 continental strategy and also our strategy on vaccine acquisition, because right now the priority is acquisition and accessibility of vaccines. We are doing our best, but what is good about our fight against COVID-19, that we are doing it together, united as Africa. We spoke with one voice, we are implementing one strategy. And this togetherness is also needed for the fight against FGM. So that's why when you say uniting, it is, for me, it's very important that this is uniting is very important. Why uniting important? Because joining our strengths and capacities is critical, particularly in deploying much needed care and protection services for the girls and the women who have been subjected to this harmful practice. It is also crucial in coordinating support and resources. It is crucial in ensuring we share lessons, evidence, and data to fast track our progress. Excellencies, continuing to fund these efforts will also be crucial, and it's been mentioned by the former speakers, the importance of having fund and having finance, having budgets. As the global community begins the decade of action to deliver on the Sustainable Development Agenda, and as Africa continues on the implementation of Agenda 2063, we need to expand our investments now on girls and on women rights, well-being, capacity building, and livelihoods. For Africa, a continent poised to reap the demographic dividend. Investment on the potential of our human capital is critical in girls and in women. We know what to do. We know how much it will cost, but we call on our member states to put more money, more investment in women and girls issues. Excellencies, our commitment at the African Union Commission as part of the AU Salima initiative on eliminating female genital mutilation is to undertake a detailed estimate and costing of what the continent needs to do to eliminate this harmful practice. We will look to your support and experience in getting this done. But let me, Excellencies, because this is maybe one of my last events, I would like to stop here and to thank my home country, Sudan, and to appreciate that Sudan agreed to have Salima as a regional at the beginning and now as a continental initiative. So thank you to Sudan. Excellencies, also I take this opportunity to also commend the consistent leadership of His Excellency President Kaburi, President of the Republic of Burkina Faso. He is our AU champion on the elimination of female genital mutilation. I really commend him in championing the Salima campaign on elimination of female genital mutilation. The government of Burkina Faso and the African Union Commission, in partnership with UNFPA and UNICEF joint program, convened a very successful and international conference on ending FGM in Ouagadougou in October 2018. All of us, we were there. We managed to bring together member states, stakeholders, and partners within and outside the continent, which led to the launch of the AU Salima initiative on eliminating FGM, and has also shaped the Commission's agenda to eliminate this harmful practice. And also I commend very highly the work of the joint program, because the joint program is being working for a long time on this issue with our member states in Africa. I appreciate the role and the efforts of the joint program. Excellencies, we need more action, and action, as always, is key. We need to deliver on our commitments to strengthen the protection of girls and women human rights. We need our member states to ensure there are stronger laws and justice delivery systems that engage and have community ownership. We need action with communities to engage, to change actually the negative perceptions and to transform social norms that continue to perpetuate of harmful traditional practices. And I would like here to say that the theme of the year of 2021 of the African Union is on arts, culture, and heritage as levers for building the Africa we want. I would like partners and us here and at the African Union to take this opportunity to work on fighting the harmful traditional practices. The culture that has negative impact on girls and women, we need to fight this, and we need to use the theme of the year and to link the theme of the year with the projects we are conducting and implementing together. We would like to take this opportunity to make sure that we will change the mindset, because this FGM, it's in the minds, not only the women, the men, and sometimes even the young girls and boys. We need to change the mindset. We need to change it from being a cultural practice to convince them that this is a very harmful practice. We should stop it, and we should stop it immediately. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like also to join my sisters, Her Excellency Maimuna Muhammad. I would like also to join Dr. Natalia Kanim and UNICEF Executive Director Henrita, to reiterating the theme of this year: Zero Tolerance Day for Female Genital Mutilation. Unite, fund, act to end female genital mutilation. This theme is very apt and timely, especially in the midst of the challenges the world is facing now with this COVID-19 pandemic. Excellencies, as we move forward, we will need young people to step up and take on this task. And I am very pleased to see our very own Aya Shabi, our moderator today for this high-level event, the AU Special Envoy on Youth here. Aya has been very active, very successful. She's the first AU Youth Envoy, but she served her mandate successfully. I wish her to continue and also I wish also for Aya's efforts also that she did with my department, social affairs, in many areas, also not only on female genital mutilation. I commend you highly, Aya, and thank you for your efforts, and thank you for the youth who are with you and behind you. I am also pleased to see Abi Mbola, one of the 6 African Union Salima Victorious ambassadors, who are strong, important young women, activist voices, representing those who have been subjected to this injurious practice and are demanding a seat at the table to influence opinions. I also commend them for their courage, because for them to come out as survivors and also to raise their voices, this needs courage. We know that it's not easy to come out and to speak for yourself and to speak for the others. So I commend them really for their work, but they need to continue to take the theme we are just talking about and to work on it together. These 6 ambassadors, they have decided to take on accountability on harmful practices as a key theme of their platform, together with the implementation of the African Union Salima initiative on eliminating female genital mutilation. I'm very proud to have seen through the launch of this platform for strong young women leaders to take this work forward. This represents a unite and action part of our theme today. Join me in supporting their work going forward. All of you partners, I call upon you, please support these young women. And I would like also to see more men joining them, more young men to join Aya. We don't want this fight to be only women fight. We want men to be also part of it. And I salute our ambassador here. I see him in the camera for joining us. We need more men in this fight. Excellencies, I would like to conclude my remarks by saying thank you once more to UNFPA and UNICEF and to the joint program. Thank you also for inviting me in assuming my new role in the months to come. I yet to disclose it. It's not disclosed yet, but I'm not far from this area. My sisters, I will call upon you the minute I will join my new position. I will be continuing with you the work. I will be calling you. I will be informing you. I will be asking you, please support my new role, continue having partnership with me. And also I would like to say that please continue this very successful partnership you have with the African Union Commission in furthering and advancing our respective mandates across the continent of Africa to implement the Salima strategy, but also the Spotlight initiative just being mentioned in her Excellency's remarks, Amina Muhammad, the Africa region document of Spotlight. We have started implementing it. We will implement it together. I salute you for this Spotlight initiative. I thank you very much for the joint work. I will continue fighting FGM. I said to Aya before, this is one of the fights of my life, to fight FGM and also to work on empowering our women in Africa. Thank you very much. Shukran jazilan, and back to you, Africa. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shukran. Thank you, Commissioner, for calling first on men to join the fight, and we will have male speakers in the program, but also for doing justice in acknowledging all the stakeholders, which you always do brilliantly, and it is what united us in this fight during your mandate. It's also one of my last events as a youth envoy, but let's not get emotional now. I'll send you all goodbye card later, but Commissioner and myself are not going anywhere. We are in this fight till the end, till we all end FGM together. So thank you again, AU Commissioner of Social Affairs, UNFPA ED, and UNICEF ED. This is the end of the Unite session. And I think it's a great transition with Commissioner's statements to our next sessions, because the Salima Youth Victorious Ambassadors Program Commissioner talked about is the first ever platform of young African women, FGM victorious survivals, and resilient activists who will be involved in co-creating an accountability framework at the political level. I'm very proud of this partnership between my office and the Social Affairs department. So I want to say hi to Kausar, Basma, Dikel, Saada, Palesa, Abimbola, all of you from the 6 regions of the continent who are with us today. And one of them is Abimbola, who is representing West Africa region and who will be moderating the next session. Abimbola is a Nigerian FGM survival and anti-FGM activist. Abimbola, I'll hand over to you to lead us on the next session.
I just forget to say thank you to Nafisatu. I would like my thank you to Nafisatu to go, and I don't know if Nafisatu is joining this session or not, but Nafi did a lot for Africa. Thank you to Nafi. Thank you.
We thank Madame Diop too. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Thank you. Abimbola, over to you. And I think you should unmute.
Okay, thank you very much, Haya. I want to, first of all, appreciate our very dynamic African Union Youth Envoy, Haya, who's been a very fantastic voice for young people the continent of Africa. A lot of us are looking up to you, and we are learning a lot from you. So, Excellencies, special guests, gentlemen and women, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this session on funding for female genital mutilation. And I'm not just here by myself. I am here representing my other sisters from the other regions of Africa, my Salemo Victorious ambassadors. So on this session, we are going to be having panel discussion with 3 distinguished guests. We have the first I would like to welcome is His Excellency, Mr. Dag Inge Usperin. I apologize if I didn't call that well. The Minister of International Development of Norway. It's our pleasure to have you. And I also like to welcome Excellency Ms. Juta Upilian Nen. I'm sorry, I hope I did not murder the names. Commissioner for International Partnership for the European Union Commission. And the last person I will be having on this panel session is Wambui Gighuri, the Acting Vice President of Agriculture, Human and Social Development, the African Development Bank Group. It's my pleasure to welcome you. Welcome on board. So I would, I don't know, I can hear a feedback. Hello? Do we have His Excellency on board? Hello? Hello? Hiya, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Abimbola.
Oh, okay. So my first question will be going to His Excellency. I wanted to be sure we have him with us. Your Excellency, Mr. Dag Inge, is he here? Hello? Okay. If he's not here, then okay. Let's wait for a minute. Okay, then I think we'll move to the next guest I have on my list while we are waiting to have His Excellency join us on board. Do we have Excellency Ms. Juta Upilianen, the Commissioner for International Partnership for the European Union Commission?
Yes.
Okay, okay. You're welcome, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, you're welcome. You're welcome, ma'am.
Video is ready.
Oh, okay, we have a video. Okay, my question, I can hear a theme. Hello?
All right, Abimbola, we will play the video now, so be on standby. We'll be right back after the video.
We cannot import solutions into communities and expect change. Every community is different. These are the wise words of Jana Dukureh, inspiring women's rights advocate from Gambia. COVID-19 has pushed back our progress in ending female genital mutilation. This endangers achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The EU is fully committed to end all gender-based violence. Let me be clear. Female genital mutilation is violence. The EU will continue to take action as addressed in our new Gender Action Plan. We have supported UNICEF and UNFPA in policy development and improving access to quality healthcare, protection, and legal and social services. The EU and UN also work through the Global Spotlight Initiative to eliminate all forms of violence against women and girls. As said, the key is to engage communities in transforming social norms through collective action. We must boost education to empower young girls and boys for a community-owned solution. Change is possible and it is happening. However, we must step up with our actions. We owe it to our daughters, sisters, and all girls around the world.
Abimbola, I think you have some technical issues. Can you hear us? We're not able to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to appreciate our EU commissioner for that wonderful comments. I think we had a little mix-up, and we're going to be moving to the first speaker. We're going to go back to our first speaker, which is His Excellency, Mr. Dag Inge. I think is here with us now, the Minister of International Development of Norway. I think he's here with us now. Okay, if he's here with us, the question I have for him is around the international population conference on population that was held in Nairobi, where strong commitments were made around funding support for the global effort to eliminate all forms of gender-based violence, and particularly elimination of female genital mutilation. If we have the His Excellency with us. We'd like for him to share with us why the Norway is prioritizing investment in the elimination of harmful cultural practices. Hello. Okay, so I think I have to move to the last speaker. I guess we don't have His Excellency on board. So I move to our last speaker, Ms. Wambui Gig Huri, the Acting Vice President of Agriculture, Human and Social Development of the African Development Bank Group. Good afternoon, ma'am. And it's our pleasure to welcome you to this session. Good afternoon, ma'am. I think we are having a lot of challenges with our speaker for this session. And this session is very, very important because it's important that we enhance and maintain the momentum for the funding, because one of the issues we always have is that once the momentum is high for a particular social challenge, particularly as it affects the health of women, the momentum starts going down, and these are times that we need to be okay. I can hear you, but I can see your comments, ma'am. I can hear you, but I can see your comments.
Hello, Abimbola. I'm so apologize for the technical issues here. You know, I think everything here now has got the virus. You know, so we struggled so much, but you were so good to handle it. So, but oh, sorry both to you, Aya and Abimbola. But it seems like you can hear me now. Is that right?
Yes, I can hear you, Your Excellency. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you for waiting. We struggled and tried to connect here, but with some technical issues on our side. So I really apologize for that. But I heard your question, and you know, I think 1 year ago there was this momentum. Female genital mutilation, one of the most extreme forms of violence against women and girls, rooted in attitudes, in beliefs, and in norms, was on its way down, and slowly, too slowly, but still, it was on its way down. And we meet now on this International Day on Zero Tolerance to FGM, and we talk about change and emerging results on the ground. And today the situation has changed dramatically. And in the shadows of this virus, again, this pandemic, violence against women and girls are increasing, and harmful practices are becoming more frequent. And there is a reason to believe that because of the pandemic, 2 million additional cases of FGM will need to be averted. Our great goal, eliminating extreme poverty by 2030, seems much less realistic now, but we refuse to give it up. And I think that all the strong messages that we heard from others today is so clear about that. Just like we refuse to stand by and watch these horrendous human rights violations take place. We have to deal with the worldwide virus crisis at the same time as dealing with the crisis within the crisis, as COVID-19 reinforces existing inequalities. We must step up our efforts. Governments and development partners have to make prevention of gender-based violence a key part of national response plans for COVID-19. Prevention of such violence and responding to it is so important. And for Norway, elimination of female genital mutilation has been a high priority over years. And we have introduced legal, administrative, health, and medical measures in order to address it. And we also launched an international strategy against harmful practices, and you mentioned that, Abimbola. The strategy is also focusing on two other forms of malpractice that are detrimental to achievements of rights and the 2030 goals alike: child marriage and son preference. At the ICPD, the conference in Nairobi, we pledged, and I pledged on Norway's behalf, 760 million Norwegian kroner to eliminate harmful practices over the next four years until 2023. And this is a part of a pledge of 10.4 billion kroner towards sexual and reproductive health and rights from 2020 to 2025. And I'm well aware that not the exchange rates from Norwegian krone until dollars and others is probably not that well known. But depending on the exchange rates, this equals more than $1.1 billion. And that is something that is really important, and we really want to see others also stepping up in this regard. And we have increased our support to UNFPA's and UNICEF's joint programs on FGM and on child marriages. And we also support the UNFPA's program against gender by sex selection, as mentioned. And I think that there are many areas that we could see a more effort. And we also is a consistent partner when it comes to WHO's effort to build evidence on health sector's response to this harmful practices. And as always in our development policy, we work closely with civil society partners. They are so crucial in this also. As the implementers of our fight against poverty, civil society organizations are also our ears, eyes, and willing hands out there in the field. And this is particularly important during the pandemic, and particularly important in reaching out to the weakest and the most vulnerable. And to your question, we will also continue our broad normative work in the UN and our effort to both protect and strengthen global norms and rights related to harmful practices. And this includes sexual and reproductive health and rights. And Norway is a strong advocate for a zero tolerance approach. Zero. There is absolutely no justification for continuing any type of the practice, and no health worker should perform it. We give priority to initiatives against discrimination and towards equality, education and health, including sexual and reproductive health and rights, as said. And these efforts contribute directly and indirectly to reducing the prevalence of harmful practices. I started out by referring to last year's optimism and momentum. Also back then, we knew that the road to elimination of the practice would be long. Against this backdrop, let us remember that impressive partnerships have been established, that government, civil society, UN agencies, women's groups, religious and local leaders, health workers, journalists, mothers and fathers now all work together to end this malpractice. Let us also remember that young people, girls and boys, are being empowered. Their voices are being heard. And history is full of examples of how a few champions have led the way and made great progress. Realism is useful, but so is hope. Development policy is no place for the faint of heart, nor for pessimists. So my hope is that 1 year from now, we can meet again and say that together, we did not let COVID-19 set us back. That is the challenge for this year of 2021 that was used as an opportunity to unite for action, to increase the resources and investments needed to see a complete end to female genital mutilation by 2030. So taking one more step, in spite of all, towards eradicating poverty, eradicating unacceptable harm and pain, and fulfilling fundamental human rights. So Abimbola, back to you, and thank you so much for waiting. It has been so great to listening in and to follow the very strong messages that have been shared from the others. So over to you, Abimbola.
Your Excellency, I must say that the response is very heartwarming, and I think that if we have our excellencies across the nations of the world having this level of zeal, passion, and commitment to ensuring that all forms of gender-based violence are eradicated, completely abandoned and eradicated, then we will not be here. We will not have, I personally will not be a survivor of FGM, and I will not have to go through all I have to go through as a survivor of FGM. So thank you very much for the strong commitment that you have made on behalf of Norway. You have said quite a number of things, and I like to reiterate that. You talked about we must step up our efforts. It's very important. And we must ensure that we do not allow COVID-19 to set us back. Okay, being a member of the COVID-19 task force in my state, I saw there was a lot of gap when COVID-19 started. A lot of us were devastated. A lot of people were running helter-skelter. We forgot to put in place policies and programs, okay, that caters for the needs of women and girls at this crucial time. And when the spike became very obvious, a lot of people now begin to talk of, okay, we need to have some centers in place and all that. So thank you very much, Your Excellency. I must say that I feel so very honored to have you and to hear from you again. I'll take your message back to the other young people, because you also called on us to be at the center stage, and we'll try our very best to remain at the center stage. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, sir. So we move to our next guest. I'm so excited that I have my second guest in-house. I have Ms. Juta. I'm going to really apologize for pronouncing the names. Okay, the African Union, the African Development Bank representative. I want to say thank you very much, Ms. Wambua Gihuri, the Acting Vice President, Agriculture, Human and Social Development of the African Development Bank Group. Welcome on board, and thank you very much. Because of my time, I have to go quickly to the question that I have. The African Development Group Bank have invested so much, billions of dollars across Africa. And then how do we ensure, how do we invest in the gender equality and the elimination of gender-based violence and harmful practices by promoting the health of and well-being of girls and women, and also advance the strategic priorities of the African Development Bank? I think I saw that policy, that priority, and I was like, wow, the African Development Bank has a set priority. So how do we advance this in relation to the health of women and girls? Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, and greetings to everyone, and thank you to you, Abimbola, directly for your courage and strength. Very impressed, and so thanks to those who have spoken before me, very powerful speakers. I'm very privileged to be in this event where there's so much to learn, and from very privileged audience with such passion and so much to share and to say to all of us. So let me start by saying, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to join you here today. I'm here to represent the President of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akumomi Adesina. And I thank you once again for inviting us to this event. As you know, the African Development Bank works closely with our regional member countries to support their efforts to achieve their development goals, focusing on economic transformation. And our vision is inclusive and sustainable growth, including improving the quality of life of the people of Africa, which is one of our high 5 priorities. The bank has made gender equality and empowerment of women and girls central in its activities and in its internal and external operations and engagement. The bank recently launched its gender strategy, and together with its human capital strategy covering starting from 2021. These two strategies are important for us to ensure gender equality internally in the bank and support gender equality in the efforts of member countries. The gender strategy specifically aims at enhancing women's skills for employability and job creation, as well as their access to social services through infrastructure development. Working with regional member countries, the bank's investment in education, training, health, and infrastructure include provision for prevention of gender-based violence and prevention of female genital mutilation prevention and response wherever possible. The bank aims to contribute to promotion of gender equality in Africa as a necessary condition for sustainable development. For the bank, the biggest opportunity to promote gender equality is in mainstreaming equality of women and women empowerment issues into our lending and non-lending programs. And we do this in many ways. Among them is through the gender marker system. This is a system that helps us to categorize our operations, our projects and programs based on the extent to which they specifically address gender equality, women's empowerment issues in their objectives, components, and expected results. Using our gender marker system, I have to say the bank is doing really well in its efforts to mainstream gender equality. 91% of the bank's programs last year were categorized as having gender equality or women's empowerment as a principal objective, an outcome, or an output. And just to give you a few examples, last year, the bank approved about $4 billion for COVID-19 response programs in crisis response, budget support, and investment operations. Part of this support goes to sustaining essential health services and building long-term health system resilience. This kind of support plays a major role in providing consistent access to sexual and reproductive health services and information for women and girls. Last year also, the bank invested about US $217 million in specific health projects related to COVID-19 pandemic response, such as personal protective equipment in this COVID-19 context, where women, as you know, are the majority of frontline health workers. This health investment also went towards social protection interventions, such as cash transfers, food distribution, targeting the most vulnerable and supporting job creation, small and micro enterprises for women and youth. Other examples include a health project in Sudan, where the bank is currently providing about $28 million through a 5-year project on improving health access and system strengthening, which will address key health priorities of the country, including reproductive and child health. Significant gains are expected in maternal and reproductive health, and eventually a reduction of mortality and morbidity among women and children. There are many other examples in infrastructure programs, in roads, ports, education facilities, irrigation schemes, markets, power and energy installation, and water management. In water and sanitation projects, our water and sanitation projects contribute significantly to menstrual health hygiene needs of girls and women. In agriculture, food security and nutrition projects are informed by the nutritional status of women and children in the countries where food fortification and nutritional diversity is ensured. I would also want to highlight a major initiative of the bank, the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, just AFAWA in short. This initiative aims to close the $42 billion US dollar financing gap faced by women entrepreneurs in Africa. We aim to unlock $5 billion over 5 years to support women, small and medium enterprises in all 54 countries in Africa in partnership with banks, other banks, through all our financial vehicles, as well as innovative guarantee program, which we're starting to implement this year. Empowering women economically gives them more choice and autonomy over life decisions, including those on sexual and reproductive health. In partnership with government ministries and local and international partners, we integrate public awareness in preventing gender-based violence in our projects across the sectors, because gender-based violence has the potential, gender-based violence has potential and has there is evidence, in fact, that it's compromising our development goals in Africa and beyond. We know that gender equality is a precondition for poverty reduction and inclusive economic growth. FGM and other gender-based violence have their roots in gender inequality. They limit economic contribution that women make to their families, communities, and nations. We must recall that Africa's most important resource is its people, women, men, girls, and boys, who all contribute to the economic and social fabric of our continent. We cannot have a prosperous Africa if one half of the population is so limited in its capacity. I just want to end by saying that we're committed to working with partners. Our investments may seem like large in large amounts. In fact, they're very small compared to the size of the problem. So we commit to working with partners, all levels, including civil society organizations, to work together to eliminate this practice that we need to, as others who have spoken today, we need to end and have zero tolerance for it. Thank you, and back to you, Abimbola.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That was very elaborate and detailed. So what the African Development Bank Group is doing to support women and girls. Key for me was the issue of mainstreaming gender to every part of your programs and the billions of dollars that have been used to support during the COVID-19. I want to say thank you very much. And for the Awawa initiative, if I got that, for African women, I want to say thank you very much. So we will take this message back, and we would always come to you when we need more funding, because the issue of female genital mutilation is something that is very, very personal to me. So I want to appreciate all my speakers, all my guests, His Excellencies, His Excellency, Our Excellency, and you, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining us. And on this note, I want to appreciate the African Union, the UNICEF, UNFPA, for inviting me to moderate the session. So thank you very much. And to take us to the next session, I would invite our powerful African Youth Envoy, Aya Chebi. Aya Chebi, thank you very much for all you do, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Abimbola. Thank you for your patience and brilliantly handling the session despite the technical issues. We really commend the leadership shown by the global community. From the European Union, I like the EU Commissioner when she said FGM is also violence. Thank you to the support of Norway. It's always appreciated, one of our closest partners on the continent. Thank you, Minister, for always being available when we call on you, and for your support, not only directly by coming into these platforms, but also the financial support you're providing to accelerate action. Thank you, African Development Bank. We congratulate the President for re-election, and we rely on him to keep the girls' agenda on the top of his agenda. Yeah. I want to remind everyone to also join Monday, all Salima Youth Ambassadors, Abimbola, and the other youth ambassadors for the Salima Accountability Framework, Monday 4:30 East Africa time, and colleagues will drop the link to register in the chat. I hope you are using Act to End FGM hashtag and steering the conversation on social media. Hundreds of you are still here. Thank you for staying here, and stay, because the next session is going to be exciting and important discussion. I want to also invite you to share. The live stream is on YouTube. I see you, I see your comments, so keep them coming, and invite your peers to join us in this last session. And without further ado, I want to welcome my panelists for the third session on action. Natalie Mukunde, the chairperson of the African Youth Commission, Nyasha Freeman from the AU UNICEF Advocacy Platform, Meher Jafar, UNICEF Sudan Goodwill Ambassador, Honorable Laurence Iboudou Marshall, Minister of Women, National Solidarity and Family of Burkina Faso, Professor Colette Souda, Principal Secretary for Public Service and Gender of Kenya, and Ambassador Dr. Mohammed Fathi Ahmed Idris, Permanent Representative of Egypt to the United Nations. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for being with us, despite the little bit of delay, for staying with us to join this important conversation. I like to moderate this as an intergenerational dialogue because we have speakers from all generations, and we have the lived experiences of the activists and their bold recommendations, and also the interaction from our leaders on the youth perspective. So I would really encourage you to engage with each other reflections. And I want to start with Natalie. I don't see Natalie on the screen. I'm not sure if Natalie is here. Natalie, are you with us?
Yes, I am alive and well. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Welcome, Natalie. You seem to be between Kenya and Uganda, and I know you're very immersed in East Africa context, and we have with us PS of Public Service and Gender of Kenya. So I really want to hear from you, your experience, but also your recommendation to our leaders in the region on how we can end FGM.
Okay, thank you so much, Aya. Just to make sure you can hear me loud and clear. Yes, okay, perfect. So it's an honor to be on this call with such distinguished speakers, and especially on a topic as sensitive as female genital mutilation. I usually tell my friends that this is one of the best eras, one of the best decades to be a woman in the world and in Africa. I mean, here we are, a group of young women, a group of men from all diverse genders and perspectives, talking about how we can eliminate such a culture, such a practice that is harming our mothers, harming our sisters, harming our daughters. Imagine what it was like to be a woman in the 1990s, where there was no one fighting for their rights to actually have such a culture eliminated. It's a pleasure to be on this call, and as the chairperson of the African Youth Commission, I bring you greetings from young people across the world, young people who do not have the voices to speak, young girls who have probably been already subjected to this practice, and young girls or children who are going to be subjected to this practice. It may not look like much to some of you on this call, but this discussion right here, the impact that we're going to have is going to be very instrumental to a young girl out there, 5 years of age or 6 years of age, about to be put onto this practice. For the people on this call maybe who do not even know what female genital mutilation is, this is where the clitoris or labia of a young girl is completely cut off, and is a practice known as infibulation, where it's completely sealed off and only a small hole is left so that this young girl can be able to urinate. Just to give context for the male speakers on this call, imagine if your male genitals were sealed and only a small hole is left for urine to come out so that the sperm is not able to come out. Imagine how painful that is. Imagine how dehumanizing that is. According to statistics, according to science, according to research, this practice has whatsoever no health benefits at all. So we cannot even compare it to male circumcision, which has some health benefits. So why are we in 2021, ladies and gentlemen, 2021, still talking about such a practice? 2021, in a decade where we're having young females run for president, young females run for parliament, we're still talking about a practice that is put onto us by our ancestors, put onto us by our cultures and traditions. And it is not a small thing that we're having such a high level event to eliminate female genital mutilation by 2030. It is not up to the leaders, it's up to each and every one of us, not on this call, but each and every one of us on the continent. I mean, we look at the statistics. In Africa, the total population of women and young girls is 50.52%. That basically means half of Africa's population are female. Now, if these females are subject to practices that dehumanize them, practices that do not give them the confidence to participate in society, that do not give them the confidence to innovate, how can we then see the Africa that we want? How can we then achieve the Agenda 2063 that we want? Personally, I have been privileged. I was raised in the city of Kampala, and my religion and culture does not believe in female genital mutilation. But what about the young girls in the rural areas who have no guardians, no church elders, no one to talk to their parents and people around them and aunties to tell them that FGM is wrong? What about them? I saw in the report that was recently launched by UNFPA that approximately we need $100 investment on every girl to end female genital mutilation. And rightfully so, it also states that that is a small price to pay. That is a very small price to pay. And this is a topic that is really at the heart of every young woman and girl out there, because even if we've been privileged to take part in such spaces, what about the others that are not? And not to their own liking, but because they're subjected to the traditions and cultures that are outdated, that have no value or have no scientific evidence. So
Thank you, Natalie. I'll give you a few seconds to wrap up.
Yeah, no problem. So as the African Youth Commission, part of our pillar is health and well-being, and we have committed to work with youth organizations across the continent to create awareness amongst the elders, amongst the youth, so that we can stop this very, very, very dangerous practice. So thank you so much, Aya, for the opportunity, and UNFPA. We look forward to joining you in the fight to eliminate FGM by 2030.
Thank you so much, Natalie, and you set us with your passion on a good start of this conversation. And I want to turn from that passion and from the questions you've been asking legitimately, the how, the why, the small price we have to pay. I want to turn to Professor Colette, from Kenya, because the president of Kenya committed to eliminate FGM by 2022. And we just heard Natalie's call to action. Why in 2021 we're still talking about this when we have females running for office and making lives for themselves? So I'd like to hear from you Kenya's experience. What is Kenya is moving to move this commitment forward, but also how are you engaging young women and girls in this process, and how are you putting at the agenda the questions that Natalie just asked? Over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much. It is a great honor for me to participate in this extremely important meeting as we celebrate the milestones achieved worldwide in the campaign to eliminate FGM. As we celebrate the gains made this far, we also recognize that much more still needs to be done. And clearly there is no time for global action or global inaction. We all need to unite, fund, act to end FGM for transformative change. The International Day for Zero Tolerance to FGM is therefore an important occasion for women and girls worldwide, as it symbolizes their quest for dignity, better health, education, emancipation from poverty, economic empowerment, and indeed their overall well-being. Kenya has made major strides towards the elimination of FGM, both locally, nationally, and across borders. The national prevalence for FGM in Kenya has declined from 32% in 2013 to the current 21%. This decline is attributed to the multifaceted approaches that the government, working together with non-state actors, has put in place. That is the UN agencies, our development partners, the NGOs, the community organizations. Now, despite the steady decline nationally, the prevalence of FGM remains relatively high in some communities, and this varies from community to community. There are actually 22 communities in Kenya which practice FGM at various degrees. The highest is 94%, and the lowest is 78%. And that is extremely high, Excellencies, extremely high. And we all know that this is the most brutal, worst form of gender-based violence, and we must eliminate it, acting together. The drivers, as we all know, are a combination of social and cultural norms and obligations, which are interwoven with traditional and religious beliefs. Various measures have been taken by the government of Kenya to address the practice. The government of Kenya has ratified a number of treaties and conventions, but as a country, we have domesticated all these instruments and we promote the Bill of Rights in the Constitution of Kenya 2010, particularly Article 52, that clearly stipulates that every child has a right to be protected from abuse, neglect, harmful cultural practices, all forms of violence, inhuman treatment, and punishment, as well as hazardous or exploitative labor. More importantly, the elimination of FGM and other harmful cultural practices is a flagship project in our third medium-term plan, 2018 to 2022, of the Kenya Vision 2030. We have the legal framework. We have a lot of laws which prohibit FGM. We have worked to promote financial inclusion. We have so many funds which we have established to support women and girls, men and women, as well as give survivors of FGM and the circumcisers themselves alternative sources of income. And that is important because for survivors, they see this as a source of income. And so as we continue with the campaign to eliminate FGM, we have come up with strategies to support those who had this as their only source of livelihood. We have several gender machineries which are working in concert to eliminate FGM and other forms of GVB. And these institutions are working together across different sectors. The government has also set up several platforms. For example, the Gender Sector Working Group that brings together dynamic and strategic partners from various government ministries, departments, and agencies. Council of Governors, so we work at both the national level and the county government level. And there is an intergovernmental framework that supports the work, the campaign against FGM. But the most important milestone in the fight against FGM in Kenya is the presidential directive to end the practice by 2022. Sometimes towards the end of 2019, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, had a meeting with cultural leaders and religious leaders as well, and they declared support to end FGM. And these elders and religious leaders came from all the 22 communities which practice FGM. They made a commitment to end FGM and to support the presidential directive. This is the single most important pronouncement at the highest level of political leadership in Kenya. And this has given a great impetus to the communities and to the people of Kenya, the communities where the practice is prevalent. We continue to work together with our partners because we recognize the fact that this is not a campaign or a war that you can win alone. We have to act together. We have to unite and end this most brutal form of violence against women and girls. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Colette, for being with us. And we really look up to Kenya and leading the way. I want to turn now, without further ado, to Ambassador Dr. Mohammed Fathi Ahmed Idris. Ambassador, we know Egypt chaired the African Union in 2019. We saw through important regional efforts advancing political action to accelerate the elimination of FGM. So please do share with us why political leadership is important to Egypt in this in eliminating this practice, and how can other countries also learn from your experience. The floor is yours, Ambassador.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Aya, and allow me to start by saying that listening to you and to Abimbola and your positive energy this morning, I think it assures us that a bright future is coming, and that all effort we are doing today is worth doing for a better tomorrow. So thank you very much. And allow me, of course, to express my pleasure to be in this meeting, which I have never missed over the years which I have been here in New York. The last few years, each year, I am part of this event. And even when I was here in New York, years before as DPR, I was also part of the engagement with our colleagues at the Mission of Italy in presenting the FGM resolution to the GA. So this is an occasion which I cannot miss. I would like, of course, to thank the UNICEF and UNFPA for organizing this year's event and their continuous efforts to, as well as their tremendous work, actually. Egypt commends the role played by UNFPA and UNICEF program for to end FGM, and over the past decade, actually, and due to the strong partnership between UNFPA and UNICEF and the Egyptian government, studies confirm that the FGM has rapidly declined. Eliminating FGM is a domain where the United Nations can claim having a success story. And this is very important because sometimes our efforts are not yielding the results which we hope for, but fortunately enough, in this cause, we are moving on the right track and we are yielding fruitful results. And we have listened to important, inspiring messages and the practical measures in the speeches of His Excellency, the President of Burkina Faso, and our distinguished DSG and distinguished USGs, Natalia and Enrita, and Commissioner Amira, and all distinguished speakers who followed. So I think, and this issue is tackled and should be tackled on different levels in integrated manner, preventive and punitive at the same time. Preventive measures addressing the issues of awareness, education, harmful traditions and practices, wrongful and perceptions and understanding of religion. So these all are areas which the Egyptian government worked on, and at the same time also punitive measures when people commit this act, which is by law is prevented. And I can say that Egypt also expresses its firm commitment to end all forms of violence against children, all forms of violence and harmful practices, which with a special focus on FGM, which unfortunately in countries in our region suffer from its implications. The Egyptian government is persistent to address the root causes of FGM through correcting the cultural and the religious misconceptions and raising awareness concerning this harmful practice that severely endanger the life and the health of our girls. In this regard, the Egyptian parliament also amended many provisions of the penal code in order to harshen the penalties for performing FGM, and this was criminalized officially since 2008. And currently, the Egyptian parliament is considering the adoption of a new amendment to acknowledge a more deterring punishment for crimes of FGM, and the proposed amendment presented by the government is a message of zero tolerance for FGM during the COVID pandemic. And the Ministry of Health and Population is as well active in prohibiting the performance of FGM, whether in medical facilities or outside. And this is considered not only a medical malpractice, but also a medical crime. Working on raising awareness and correcting social and cultural religious misconceptions proved to be of great impact. And this is very important because this level of contact with the people is very important to give attention to this dimension. And I want to highlight in this regard that a very interesting publication which was issued by Al-Azhar, Al-Sharif, and the Coptic Orthodox Church in Egypt in collaboration with UNICEF under the title Peace, Love, Tolerance, Key Messages from Islam, Christianity on Protecting Children from Violence and Harmful Practices. So this integrated effort, societal effort, whole society effort is very important and proved successful. In conclusion, I want to say also that during the time of COVID, we gave attention to the rights of women and girls. Egypt last year introduced a resolution based on a policy paper done by the Egyptian Supreme Council of Women. And that resolution is aiming to protecting the rights of girls and women during the time of COVID. And it was really well received and adopted by consensus in the GA, and provides a tool to address how to proceed in more protection of the rights of women and the girl facing this pandemic. And in conclusion, while saluting UNFPA and UNICEF joint efforts, it's essential to continue working together in order to ensure that the COVID-19 impact will not impede our achieved progress for the elimination of FGM. And really, I hope that also in future occasions will be celebrating not only zero tolerance of FGM, but zero practice of FGM. And I want to say, as you mentioned before, that our march continues. Thank you very much.
شكرا سعد سفير.
شكرا
Thank you
جزيلا.
so much.
شكرا
Thank
جزيلا.
you so much, Ambassador, for your important statement, especially on the role of religious leaders in the conversation. I now want to turn on to Maha from neighboring to Egypt, Sudan. Maha, you're a Sudanese activist for women and girls, and I would like to hear from you your experience on showing progress in ending FGM in Sudan or in the region. So over to you, Maha.
Thank you so much, Aya. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. I'm very honored and humbled to be speaking here today. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to myself. My name is Maha Jafar, and I am UNICEF Sudan National Ambassador. I'm a dentist, and I'm also a comedian. And you're probably wondering what I'm doing here. So let me start by telling you the story of how I got here. 4 years ago, I was studying for my final exams at my final year of dentistry, and I filmed a funny video of myself. This video went viral all of a sudden, and people started asking me for more. I started creating more, and slowly I was able to build a community and to have hundreds of thousands of people watch my videos. It is still going great, but I'm here today because I believe strongly that this all means nothing if I don't use it to advocate for the benefit of people, especially women and girls. Let me tell you the story of how I found out about FGM. I was 20 years old, which was 7 years ago, in case you were wondering. I was visiting my home country, Sudan, and I was having one of those late night girly conversations with my cousin when she decided to tell me all about FGM. She was whispering, and we were so scared that anyone would hear us talk about this. I was shocked. I never knew this still existed. I always looked away from it. I thought it was not my problem. I did not have to go through FGM or even think about it because of choices my parents made. It was only until I had that conversation with my cousin when I realized that this was a problem. a few months ago when I was appointed UNICEF Ambassador of Sudan, and I came to know that the rate of FGM in Sudan is 86%. I realized that this was not just a problem. This is everyone's issue. I now understand that the main reason it was easier for my parents to make the choice of not practicing FGM was the work of brave women and men who came before me and were able to speak up and push boundaries. I now realize my responsibility towards other women. I dedicate my platform to stand up for them and defend them. Women have been speaking up against FGM for years. They stood up against harmful cultural and traditional practices and were able to educate and fight for girls despite all struggles. Finally, my home country, Sudan, has passed a law that criminalizes FGM. This is a great achievement. However, we still have a long way to go. Families still perform FGM behind closed doors, even because they believe that it's a part of religion and culture. The only way we can really fight FGM is by education and awareness. And this is why today, UNICEF Sudan and myself are starting a social media campaign to encourage everyone to learn about FGM and to speak up against it. I would love to invite you all to join our campaign and to help us reach out to as many people as possible. We want to break the cycle of silence. We want this message to be loud and clear. Until every girl is free from FGM, none of us is really free. I don't want my children to discuss it while whispering in the dark like I did with my cousin. I want them to grow up in a community that is fully aware that FGM is not a taboo, but FGM is a crime.
Thank you, Maha. FGM is indeed a crime. And thank you for using your platform and more than 1 million following, to raise awareness and engage young people about this. We really appreciate you being part of the conversation. I want to now turn to Nyasha. I think Nyasha is still with us. Yes, I can see you on the video. I think, Nyasha, with your experience in both platforms, AU and UN, your perspective would be very interesting. We have with us here also Honorable Minister of Burkina Faso, who will speak after. And Burkina Faso is the EU champion on ending FGM. So I would really be interested to know your perspective or experience as young advocate and your recommendation to intergovernmental institutions and how we should act to eliminate FGM.
Well, thank you. It's much appreciated. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, all protocol observed. My name is Nyasha Freeman. I represent a group, the African Union UNICEF Advocacy Platform, which is the brainchild of an African Union UNICEF campaign, reimagining Africa without child marriages. Female genital mutilation as well as child marriages are both driven by gender inequalities and social expectations of what it means to be a girl. They are so patriarchal in approach and also as a means of controlling girls' sexuality, often linked to cultural and religious norms that still exists up to now, which we, as a platform, we intend to eradicate and encourage young people and also their peers within their community to actively engage through intergenerational dialogue to ensure that meaningful changes are observed. It is through our conviction and devotion to promote gender equality, especially under the SDG 5, to ensure that there is women empowerment through their actions on the African continent that sees them beyond being only, objects of, value, as female genital mutilation tends to illustrate or points them to, but to be active contributors to societal needs in Africa and being leaders of tomorrow. As you can see today, we have esteemed excellencies and also our youth envoy, Miss Aya, having reached there because they've been given the opportunity, they've been given the platform to mature and develop into a woman they wishes to be, into an individual who actively contribute to the betterment of the humanity on our continent. Hence, we need to actively work, to ensure that this modern day evil is put to an end. As a platform, we are mainly focused on amplifying youth voices in the mainstream sustainable development spaces, and hence actively working with young people to ensure that voices are amplified, and also platforms are created that ensure that the message against female genital mutilation and child marriages across Africa are created and packaged within the right communication tools that reaches to all corners of the society. It is through offline and online advocacy programs, especially in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, that we have created a proactive youth informal system to promote and realize SDG 5 and also female genital mutilation advocacy through raising awareness and promoting the creation of a vibrant youth constituency that initiate peer-driven interventions in their respective countries. To date, we have a membership, active membership of young people across 14 countries in Africa, with its key activities aimed at consolidating the work of UNICEF and African Union Youth Division to ensure that there is enough advocacy work being done to ensure that these modern day social evils are addressed, and also young people are enlightened on the need to actively advocate to put them to an end.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anasha. Thank you very much. Because we're running out of time, I really want to go straight to the reflection from the Minister of Women, National Solidarity and Family of Burkina Faso. Est-ce que la ministre est là? Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Vous avez
non, c'est pas Monsieur le ministre.
Vous avez fait la présentation?
Oui, Madame la ministre a dû partir parce qu'elle a une autre réunion.
D'accord.
Voilà, comme le panel était censé se terminer à 15 h.
D'accord, pas de souci,
Voilà.
pas de souci. Alors, je voulais juste vous laisser en fait le mot de la fin de ce dialogue intergénérationnel
Oui.
avec les interventions des jeunes et de l'ambassadeur. Moi aussi, je crois que ça va finir ici. Alors, vous avez la parole, monsieur.
Ouais. Merci à toutes et à tous les participants. Moi, c'est Seydou Soulama, je suis directeur de cabinet par intérim de Madame la ministre. C'est avec grand intérêt que nous participons à ce panel. Il est très important pour nous de voir qu'aujourd'hui, la jeunesse prend à bras le corps la lutte contre les MGF. Déjà, chez nous au Burkina, à la dernière réunion du Comité national de lutte contre la pauvreté et l'exclusion, les jeunes des 13 régions du Burkina se sont engagés à travers une déclaration commune qu'ils ont remis au président du Faso, champion de l'Union africaine pour l'élimination des MGF, déclaration dans laquelle ils s'engagent à œuvrer vraiment, véritablement à lutter contre ces phénomènes-là. Parce que comme nous le constatons, au Burkina Faso, le phénomène des MGF touche toutes les communautés, toutes les 45 provinces du pays sont touchées. Et les MGF aussi se pratiquent aussi bien dans les zones rurales que dans les zones urbaines. Mais depuis plusieurs décennies, nous menons la lutte contre les phénomènes. Et à ce jour, nous pouvons dire qu'on a engagé des acquis notables, notamment le fort engagement des leaders religieux et communautaires. Et il y a aussi l'engagement de politiques qui a permis de mettre en place une structure nationale de coordination de la lutte, qui est le Comité national de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision. Il y a l'adoption et l'application effective d'une loi qui interdit et réprime les MGF depuis 1996, laquelle a été renforcée du reste en 2018 à travers le nouveau code pénal. Il y a aussi l'institution d'un numéro vert qui permet d'alerter les autorités publiques sur les tentatives d'excision ou les cas d'excision. Et la mobilisation communautaire, il faut le dire, elle est très forte dans notre pays. Elle a permis à ce jour d'obtenir de 4231 villages les déclarations d'abandon des MGF au cours de cérémonies publiques. Il y a aussi l'accompagnement du gouvernement à travers la prise en charge médicale et psychosociale des jeunes filles et femmes dans les centres de santé publics et privés victimes de MGF. Et ce qui est important aussi, c'est l'engagement au plus haut niveau de l'État, de son Excellence, Monsieur le Président du Faso, et qui, comme vous le savez, a été sacré champion de l'Union africaine pour l'élimination des MGF en février 2019. Toutes ces actions ont permis une baisse sensible de la prévalence des MGF dans notre pays. Ainsi, de 2010 à 2015, la prévalence des MGF chez les femmes et les filles est passée de 75,8% à 67,6% pour la tranche d'âge de 15 à 49 ans et de 13,3% à 11,3% pour les femmes et les filles de moins de 14 ans. Des données nouvelles sont attendues avec les résultats de l'enquête démographique et de santé de 2020 et le titre biomédical en cours de réalisation présentement. Mais si ces résultats peuvent être des motifs de satisfaction, la commémoration de la 18e édition de la Journée internationale de tolérance zéro MGF, sous le thème « Refusons la pratique des MGF au Burkina, mobilisons-nous et agissons ensemble », vient nous rappeler une fois de plus la nécessité de redoubler d'efforts afin de venir à bout de cette pratique à l'horizon 2030. Et on constate aujourd'hui qu'il y a beaucoup plus de défis à travers la clandestinité de la pratique, avec l'abaissement de l'âge à l'excision et la pratique transfrontalière. Parce que comme le Burkina, à notre niveau, il y a une loi qui réprime l'excision, on constate que les populations des zones frontalières souvent traversent les frontières pour aller opérer la pratique dans des pays où il n'y a pas encore de législation contre les MGF. Donc, cela rend plus difficile la lutte à notre niveau. Mais nous sommes encore en train de réfléchir sur les stratégies nécessaires pour venir à bout de cette pratique transfrontalière. Et tout cela aussi s'est aggravé avec la survenue de la pandémie de la COVID-19 qui, au travers du constat qu'on peut faire au plan mondial, qui est que cette pandémie va mettre à mal la réalisation des objectifs des ODD, y compris l'élimination des MGF en 2030. Donc, comme l'a dit son Excellence, Monsieur le Président du Faso, dans son adresse, cela nous interpelle à plus de vigilance, à plus renforcer nos actions et à nous mobiliser à travers une action concertée pour arriver à bout de ce phénomène. Parce que si nous nous prenons garde, selon les chiffres de l'UNFPA, il y a environ 2 millions de femmes et de jeunes filles qui risquent de passer sous les lames des exciseuses. Et Madame la modératrice, et Madame la ministre voudrait saisir l'occasion de ce panel pour exprimer toute sa reconnaissance aux partenaires techniques et financiers pour leur accompagnement, notamment l'UNICEF et l'UNFPA à travers leurs projets conjoints. Elle exprime aussi sa reconnaissance aux ONG nationales et internationales, aux leaders communautaires, aux professionnels des médias et à tous les acteurs pour les accompagnements au quotidien. Et enfin, par ma voix, elle invite particulièrement la jeune génération à accompagner davantage les gouvernants et le champion de l'Union africaine pour l'élimination des MGF dans la mise en œuvre du plan d'action Salima afin de bouter à jamais la pratique des MGF hors de l'Afrique et du monde entier. Parce qu'au Burkina Faso, nous demeurons convaincus qu'on ne pourra gagner le pari de la victoire sur les MGF qu'avec la jeunesse. Parce que c'est la jeunesse qui est l'avenir de demain. Voilà très rapidement ce que je pourrais dire au nom et pour le compte de Madame la Ministre. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup pour l'intervention et on apprécie vraiment l'engagement de la ministre. Donc, merci pour votre engagement. Thank you to all our speakers, to the young people and our committed member states for sharing your experiences and recommendations. We hope this intergenerational conversation continues because fighting FGM requires the collaboration between our governments and our youth activists in the community. We want to be part of the policy, the design, the implementation, and everything in between. So let's take these dialogues to our national and community context as well. With this, we come to the end of our event. If you are here, it's because you are very committed. It's been 2 hours, and I'm so grateful to see over 150 people still here on Zoom. 100 others are still on the live stream. Thank you so much for being with us throughout this event. If you were asking how we can end FGM, I hope today's event and high-level engagement have answered that question for you by uniting to transform harmful social norms, by funding and investing to scale up what works and the innovation that really works. We've heard from Egypt, from Burkina Faso, from Kenya, and also by acting collectively. We heard political will from our heads of states. We heard the commitments from ministers of gender, commitment from our partners like Norway, and I see the Minister of Norway is still with us. We heard engagement and commitment from the African Development Bank. We heard the UN, the EU. We heard our youth activists and artists and influentials. This is how we end FGM, a multi-stakeholder engagement, both at the highest political level, but also at the grassroots level. So now, all is left is to call on all of you to join, to unite, to fund, to act, and to be part of the conversation. Thank you to the joint UNFPA-UNICEF program bringing us together to push the agenda. Thank you to the organizing team, to the leadership of Madame Nafissatou Diop. Thanks to Robert, Soraya, Rams on the background. Thank you to the interpreters for staying with us over time. We really appreciate it. Thank you to the technical team and production team. Thank you to all of you. Really, I see also Commissioner of Social Affairs still with us for the entire event. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Thank you to the leadership of UNFPA, UNFPA ED and UNICEF ED. Such a commitment from our leaders, but also commitment from you participants. So let's continue the discussion, take it out of social media, take it to your policymakers, to your organization, to your family dinners, to your friends hangouts, and let your motto be unite, fund, and act to end female genital mutilation, and have an awesome weekend. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Insia Solmanji and I'm 14 years old. I live in New York in the village of Stewart Manor. My mom is of Indian background and we are in the community of Daudi Boras. Jina langu Tabitha Ruby. Nasoma katika shule ya primary. Niko darasa la 8. Niko na miaka 14.